Dustin, do you remember asking for your left hip to be a compensable body part?
No,
What did you request?
just chiropractic visits as a supportive care. That's it.
Why?
Because my left hip is affected by my altered gait from my right knee injury. So
Okay.
it's just to keep everything aligned. That's all I was asking.
Yep. And um, we received a letter from Sasha Gale on August 28th, 2020. And it says that basically you were denied for compensability of your left hip issues as a compensable body part. But that was really a lie because you've never
No,
asked for it to be compensable.
it was never even considered a compensable part by any of my medical professionals.
No.
It's just an affected body part related indirectly to the injury.
And you've never lost any, like,
No, I've
you've
never
never lost any earnings.
no, I've never lost no time from work or no earnings because of my left hip. It's just the supportive care is for my long term benefit and no one else's.
And without that chiropractic care, what happened in the long run with your actual knee and your left foot?
Because of the altered gait, it affected my left foot because I was transferring all of my body weight from my right to my left.
And then when your foot,
And then when my left foot flared up, I had to compensate from my left to my right, which my right was my injured knee. So it couldn't sustain it. And it caused a flare up.
and workplace and all employees told us multiple times that that was going to happen,
They were by all of my medical staff, my medical professionals,
and by
and my
myself.
and myself said the same thing.
Yep. And they refused the chiropractic treatment over and over and over again.
Yep. And to the day, they still do not support the request of my medical staff to date for supportive care at all. My current physical therapist has requested it several times and has been denied. Says supportive care is not needed or necessary.
Who said that?
My physical therapist here in Fort McMurray.
No, who said is not needed?
Oh, workplace, yeah.
Yeah. And, you have seen and feel what does happen without those supportive treatments.
Oh, 100%.
How many times do you end up on a cane without them?
So far, it's been a couple times a year.
And underneath the act, those treatments are supposed to be covered because that would be considered an impediment.
Yes,
And it affected your ability to do your job at the time.
yes.
How did that make you feel?
Frustrated, angry.
Did you feel that they were actually helping you be the best employee that you could be?
No. As far as I'm concerned, for me and my ability to be at my best, workplace now has done nothing to help.
Have they caused more harm?
In a sense,
Can you explain what happened when you went for your CBOR intake assessment?
I was just going through the assessment and uh, certain activities that was part of the assessment actually aggravated my knee at the time.
And it's reported in the file that
And
Ian said,
and the physical therapist that did the assessment reported in the file said that it was not the best idea to put me through it, and that from the time I did the assessment to 24 hours later, my knee had swollen. I believe the report said 2 centimeters in size within 24 hours. So obviously, that should have been evidence enough to say no, he can't go through this. But I was forced through it anyway.
and when you actually had an MRI done, it showed that there was tendonitis there in the knee. And the actual medical evidence like dates right back to the CBR intake, because prior to that there was absolutely no signs of tendonitis. Is that right?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
And after that CBR intake, did your symptoms in your knee like start to get better, or like when it came to exercising, walking, all those things, until they were actually addressed by the physiotherapist that you had here in Fort McMurray and treated? Did those symptoms ever go away from that CBR intake?
No, my knee has, until I started seeing my physical therapist here in Fort McMurray, my knee was always swollen to a degree. It was never ever corrected properly.
And when you went to work in St. Anthony as the power engineer, when you were forced to go back because of the multiple times your compensation was cut and you couldn't trust them to provide for your family anymore, even though you were entitled to those compensations because they weren't doing the calculations. What was it like when you would come home from work every evening?
I had to sit down on my bed, ice my knee, and then uh, use my TENS machine that was prescribed to me by a physical therapist to be able to continue to work.
And that only started to be that bad when? Was it prior to the intake assessment or after?
You know, it was after the intake assessment because, as I stated, like after the intake assessment and the continuation through the program, like there was always some swelling in the knee which affected its stability. Some days was better than others, but that's just the way that it works.
Was it painful?
Sometimes some minor pain, like some pains, but I mean, it wasn't debilitating.
No, but it shouldn't have been.
No, it should not have been any really. Since I've had the tendonitis corrected here in Fort McMurray, and uh, the swelling has since went dissipated totally, and it's been good.
So once you actually basically got a good solid like physiotherapist and chiropractor and a GP, basically.
Yeah, my own medical staff, not influenced by workplace personnel in any way, shape, or form.
And are you still noticing that without the chiropractor treatment for your altered gait, that it's still, even to this day, you've had to pay for your own chiropractor just to be able to stay off a cane?
Yep, there's visits out of my own pocket to get adjusted, I guess would be the correct term, just to keep things in check so that I'm not forced back onto a cane again because of the altered eat issues.
And we both know that that's completely unfair
It is.
because underneath the law, they're supposed to be providing this care.
They should be providing supportive care, even if it's only 1 or 2 visits a month. That's enough.
Yeah.
That's
And basically, that's most of like all they've been asking.
Yep.
Is supportive care.
That's
when
it.
you need it, minimum once a month.
Yep.
Depending on if it's worse, better, or whatever.
100%.
And as for your loss of earnings, what did you actually lose with regards to this knee?
I lost a career. Never mind the earnings. I had 12 years as a power engineer that disappeared.
And that was one of, like, your career was actually something that meant a lot to you.
Yeah, it was. I enjoyed being in that line of work.
Do you feel that if they'd handled your knee better, right from the time of your recurrence, especially, that you would have actually lost that career altogether?
It's a possibility not.
Do you feel that you may still be able to work in like certain areas in, say, a coker plant where you did have experience in Fort McMurray?
Yeah, I could see it as being a possibility, sure.
But what would have had to happen?
It would have had to have, it would have had to have been handled differently. As in 2019 when the reoccurrence happened, they would have had to compensate me properly so I was able to stay here where that career was readily available and I was able to get the treatment that I would have needed to get back into the field.
A lot faster.
Yeah.
And with a safe return to work plan.
Exactly. Because those are offered here by all companies.
Did Workplace Canal ever offer you the safe return to work talks?
No, there was never any safe return to work. There was no toxic retraining. There was nothing. Only you've got approved for this many treatments. Okay, you've had this many treatments, and your full range of motion and strength is there. So, yeah, you can go back to work.
And then instead of doing the calculations and ensuring that you had earnings coming in, what happened?
They said, "Here's what you're getting." Basically, that's it.
But how many times did they cut off the compensation and try to force your hand into doing something that was unsafe?
Quite a few times.
How do you think that this impacted your children?
Oh, it has greatly. It's about I've been able to continue with my career as a power engineer, especially now. My kids would have been able to be involved in a lot of extracurricular activities, whereas now they are not because of the way everything has been handled with my file, my case, even me medically.
So, how do you feel with us reaching out to Tony Wakeham and him not listening?
As far as I'm concerned, there's no government person or body in Newfoundland and Labrador that's willing to listen to anybody or anything when it comes to anything, really. If you want my personal opinion, the government in Newfoundland and Labrador and everybody that's associated with it is a joke.
How do you feel about us trying to report everything that the staff has done to the Human Resources Department of Workplace and Health?
Human Resources Department.
Yeah, so like the misconduct. Like,
Misconduct. So who we're reporting it to exactly? Because as far as I can see, everything that has been reported to this Human Resources Department, it's just a title so they can employ more family members. It's not an actual department that does anything with the employees.
well, I'm not sure if I would agree with the family members part, but they act like one big family who's protecting each other. I would agree with that statement. Is that more what you meant?
That's more along the lines of what I meant, yeah. What's the point of having a human resources department who don't handle misconducts or employees that are doing things incorrectly?
So, Kimberly Doyle said that you worked the day before. Can you explain what happened with your reoccurrence on August the 5th of 2019?
Explaining what happened?
Yeah, she said that you worked the day before. Did you work the day before?
No, I didn't work the day before, and the company I was working with at the time actually recorded day, day of week, and date of the month that you actually worked on. So I have evidence, proof from that company that I was not at work on the day that I started having symptoms with my knee.
What was that you said? You were at work today. You had symptoms with your knee. You woke up that morning.
Yeah, I woke up that morning, but I wasn't at work the day before. I was having the day before
Yes,
I was having symptoms with my knee,
that's right. So you got up on you told the ER that you got up on the morning of the 5th.
and my knee was swollen, and there was a little bit of instability there. So I had a over-the-counter knee brace at the time that I wore into work. My safety officer at the time, when I went into work, seen that I was walking with a limp, and he questioned me on it. Uh, Kept me from going out into the field that morning, and I was actually sent to the ER for an assessment after they had taken my statement.
Did you at any point in time report to Workplace Nell that it was anything other than a flare up of your original knee injury on January 18th or January 10th, 2018?
You know,
So when they said that it was they had received a report of an incident or injury around the August 5th, 2019, that was false.
that was a false statement on their part. Working with the company I was working with at the time in Fort any really company in Fort McMurray, if there's an incident of any sort, no matter how major or minor it is, it has to be reported and documented by their safety staff. There was no such incident reported.
Because nothing happened.
Therefore, it clearly shows through their procedures that if no incident was reported, then they did not receive an incident report.
Um, There's been a lot of like false claims, but who are the false claims made by?
Work personnel.
And have we ever really been able to get those false claims addressed and fixed?
No,
No matter how many times we reached out.
no, we've reached out through phone calls, emails, like, and nothing is ever corrected.
They did reinstate when they illegally cut you off without calculating your loss of earnings and just base it on your medical. They did reinstate. However, what did that take for to get them to reinstate it?
It took a phone call from me stating that I haven't been cleared by any of my medical staff, so I haven't been cleared to go back to work by my physical therapist or my chiropractor at the time to return to work based on their medical findings. So in that one particular time, it took a phone call from me to basically say, listen, you're saying I'm cleared to go back to work, yet I have not been cleared by anybody to go back to work. So how is that even possible for you guys to close my claim?
The other side of that is that legally they're not allowed to close a claim because the injury is permanent and it exists. That's underneath the law. And underneath the law, regardless of what your medical situation is, they need to actually do calculations. Have they ever done calculations on your loss of earnings?
No,
When you went back to work at a loss of earnings, and that loss of earnings has existed ever since, did they do calculations then?
no.
It puts us really at a, like, honestly, a ridiculous situation, in my opinion, that we are able to talk as calmly and deal with these things. However, it's very hard to stay calm when you're up against people who refuse to accept the truth. When you had to call and state that your doctors did not clear you, how did that feel? Like, did you feel that you were always fighting? Or did you feel that, like, how did the whole thing feel to you?
It just felt unfair. And, like, yeah, like, at that point in time during that phone call, it was very frustrating and it made me angry to a point because my caseworker at the time was telling me, he's like, okay, you're clear to go back to work. Yet I had no one that was treating me at the time clearing me for anything other than being able to get up and walk around my own house, drive a car. Right? I was actually still under restrictions for walking time, walking distances, weight that I was able to lift, carry, stuff like that. Like all of these restrictions were still in place, yet I was fit to go back to work in the eyes of workplace and out. I don't understand. What's the point of actually having a caseworker and you getting treated by these medical professionals for just somebody who's not in the medical field at all. Call you up and say, "Yeah, you can go back to work now." Hmm. It's a little infuriating because I mean, who are they to say that? Oh yeah, you're good to go back to work. What your doctors and what your medical staff is reporting is basically nil and void.
Was your injury employer ever obligated to take you back to work?
Under their um, policies, no, they were never ever obligated to take me back to work because it didn't fit the criteria of to actually re-employ me.
How many times did workplace NL tell you that your injury employer was obligated to take you back?
Oh, it was several times.
Did they ever correct it and say that they weren't?
No,
How does it feel knowing that your whole file is basically a lie? Like,
it's frustrating. It's as they say, it's a little maddening, and it just goes to show that you know why. And being in the trades, I see it a lot. I've seen I see a lot of people that work through injuries, and people don't go through WCB because there's nothing ever done that's fair for the injured worker. It's like all the laws and misinformation that's been recorded in my file, which is fairly thick, is it's like who do we have handling people's lives? Because this is not just an injury; it's someone's livelihood, it's someone's life that you're handling in your hands. Not the physical life, but their ability to live, provide for themselves, for them families. Like there's not a tradesperson that I've met over the years that wants to rely on any government assistance or any government assistance. They want to work. They want to work in their trade. They want to do what they enjoy doing. And being misrepresented and information recorded falsely and all of this just it doesn't help at all. It makes life really hard.
during all of this, did you feel very confused on times over like what your best and like what you should do from one minute to the next?
Yeah, it is confusing and it's hard to make the choices. Reason being is you try to follow your doctor's orders as best you to as close or as best as you can. But in the meantime, you're watching things on your financial side, your bills and this and that, just pile up and fall behind because you're following your doctor's orders and you're not getting any help from the compensation board that's supposed to be helping you in the situation.
But yet the law states that they're not supposed to cause unfair results with their decisions.
This is true.
So how does them making you fall behind on all your bills fit them staying saying that, oh, we're not allowed to cause unfair results? Their policy specifically says that they're not allowed to cause unfair results. Would you like to tell me and whoever watches this video if we've ever felt fair results?
No, there hasn't been no fair results ever since I started dealing with this. Ever since this happened. There's like it's been a struggle. It's been a financial struggle ever since the date of injury. 5 years ago. No, longer than that.
So, do you actually feel that they follow that part of the law ever?
No.
And no matter how many times they're told that it's unfair to you, have they ever listened?
No. Personally, I don't think, my personal opinion on this, I don't really think that they look at these cases as actual people. To me, is if they can get away with closing it, whether it's legally or illegally, then the faster they can close it, the better it looks on them. Because to me, the way that I've been treated in my experience with WCB or Workplace NL, which is one and the same, I'm just a 6-digit number on a page. I have no wife, I have no kids, I don't have a home. I'm just black ink written down on a sheet of paper that's 6 digits long.
When I've been asking for injured workers to have a voice at the table, do you think it's time for Tony Wakeham and the minister responsible for workplace and L and Mike Guzny to give you guys, you and all the other injured workers, a voice at the table?
Yeah, I think it's time for the government and Workplace NL to actually have a voice. Not a government employee, not someone from their inner circle, but an actual injured worker, sit at the board of at the board table, at the table with all of these big shots, and have an input on what goes on and how cases are handled. And I don't think it should be one voice because they have multiple seats. So one injured worker as a representative at that table is not going to be enough.
Fair enough, but they only give one seat.
Well,
And
they can give up one of their seats.
and currently, like injured workers representative on the board of directors is Louise Bradley, who's not an injured worker at all.
So that right there tells me is misrepresentation. Because if you're not an injured worker, you have no idea the loops and red tape that we have to go through on a daily basis to get where we need to be able to get back to some sort of a healthy lifestyle.
Have you seen any injured workers reach out to me over the last 5 years?
Oh, I have plenty. And the story is the same. Basically, they treat you when they feel that you're able to go back to work. They close your file and say you're fit for duty.
And we've seen too many people. We actually know 2 people personally who've been injured on a job, but I'm not going to say any names. And how do you feel about the way that they were treated?
It's unfair.
Would you say that they suffered a lot
I will.
and still suffering to this
Still
day?
suffering to the day, both physically and financially. Fact of the matter is, a lot of people that fight workplace NL and take them to court, to me, it's a last ditch effort for a lot of people to see if they can get something where they can actually get back to the way they were living before the injury. But in most cases, it's just a band aid. They give you some sort of a settlement to pay you out, and I'm sure, I don't know, but I would assume that within that settlement there is agreements that has to be agreed upon before the money is paid out.
Do you feel that an injured worker should have to fight in a court of law for anything?
No.
Which is why basically we're not choosing that route.
Well, as I just said, if we take it to a court of law, there will be settlement, and then that would be it. That would be all.
Underneath the act, though, it says that 72B is to provide services to injured workers and their dependents. So if we did go to court, that would mean that Workplace NL would actually have to pay for your lawyers to fight themselves.
Basically.
And they're not willing to provide the lawyers because they know this. Like,
That's correct.
you know, and they would actually have no legal representative underneath that section of the law anyway.
That is also correct.
I hope that people are going to listen and that we get this resolved immediately, as in now. I feel that continuing to ignore this is absolutely a failure on behalf of our entire system. Tony Wakeham, Mike Guzny, like you guys are there in your suits and your ties and pretending that everything is hunky dory, and you never acknowledge injured workers, not even on a National Day of Mourning, I believe it's called, when it's for people who got injured and people who died on the job. And that's wrong. So, acknowledging injured workers is the first step. And they don't even do that.
No, they don't. Actually, the National Day of Mourning, I can remember I was actually working here in Alberta in Fort McMurray in 2013 when, I'm not sure if it was that exact year, but when that actually kicked off because the oil sands companies up there make a really, really big deal of it because it is a big deal when someone's injured on the job or there's a life lost because of a job. And to sit there and smile and wave and not acknowledge injured workers, they are part of that day of mourning because these injured workers lost something. It may not have been their life, but they've lost something.
And there's injured workers way worse than you.
Oh, 100%.
So, for me personally, how would you describe my advocacy? Is it just for us?
No, it's not. It's time for this stuff to just stop. The companies up here take uh, injuries and stuff like that very seriously. It's not. It's not just brushed off and have a nice day. It's actually taken very seriously, and they do. The companies themselves, without the help of WCB, help their employees
To the best of their
to the
ability.
best that they can. They help in their recovery. They help in their return to safe work, safe practices. Like all of this is in place. Whereas back in Newfoundland, with WCB, Workplace NL back there, there's there's really no help.
And how can we ever get help when they won't even acknowledge that you exist?
Well, they don't. This is how they avoid it. They turn you into a 6-digit number, and you're just a file in the cabinet.
And I will end this off by saying that, you know, while our family has, just an injured knee, there are families out there with a parent who has a brain injury or they're paralyzed. The chances of them even being able to return to work or even being able to walk again is not there. And these families are being treated very similarly after a while. The longer you're on Workplace NL's books, the harder they make it for you to live. And you end up having to fight to get any source of just financial support. And that's wrong. So I've seen a lot of messages that said, you know, Charlene is this and Charlene is that. And those people don't know me because my anger over this makes me very upset because it's not fair. I don't see these injured workers as a file. I see them as suffering people. I see the pain and I see the impact on the spouses, on the children, on the parents, the grandparents, and anyone else who's involved in their lives. These injured workers all across Newfoundland, Labrador, and all across the country are more than just a number in my eyes. And they always have been. So if they're still a number in your eyes as an employee of Workplace NL, you don't deserve to be taking care of these people. They deserve better than you. And may God protect them from this day forward and turn them into a person in your eyes and stop treating them like a number.